Okay, it says it can't be fully recorded. Is it recorded?
It's recording now.
Thank you. So welcome to our Sunday night call, July the 9th. Thank you to Daniela Wells for our amazing leadership training last Sunday and everybody else that was involved. Also, I just want to go through a couple of DAs and some information. So on Thursday the 13th at Surrey, there is a Discover Arbonne with Gail Longhurst and Sarah Mills. On Wednesday the 12th, Hetty Gifford and Laura Rigby are doing one at London Bridge, and there's one in Essex done by Claire Fisherden on the 18th. Nikki Marchant had an amazing her card presentation today, which was absolutely, I just wish I could have been there, but yeah, I'm glad you guys got there, and massive well done. Then there's a couple of recognitions. So level 1 IC cash bonus, Nikki Walker booth, sponsored by Carol Sutton Holton. Claire Gratian, sponsored by Caroline Stalker. 2 new ICs, Melanie Rock Moore, what a great name, sponsored by Chris Rock. And there was, sorry, I forgot to write it down because it was lastminute.com, from the amazing Caroline Stalker. So I want to pass you on to an incredible speaker that I've managed to secure for tonight's training. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about her. Her name's Michelle Catanach. She's absolutely incredible. I met her at the Mind, Body and Spirit event I went to a while ago. She's an author, a speaker, and a transformational book coach who empowers women to live as the fullest expression of themselves. She makes a massive impact through their work and change the world with their words. She believes that when we rise, our children rise, and that is how we're going to change the world. She is phenomenal. And I'd like to pass you over to Michelle. Just unmute yourself, Michelle.
Hi. Thank you very much, Stacey, for that really lovely introduction. And if at any point you want to just sort of jump in and ask me any questions, and prompt me, because I have a tendency for my mind to just wander. So feel free to jump in at any time. And also just to let you know, to pre-warn you that my kids, my 5 and 2-year-old are still up, and they may just bang on the door at any moment. Just to let you know what's going on. So yes, my name's Michelle Catanach. As Stacey mentioned, I'm a transformational book coach, and I'm all about, well, ultimately my big why, if we're thinking about my sort of biggest, deepest why, it's all about the kids. Everything I do is about our children, our future generations. And essentially it's all about who we be as women, because ultimately we are the ones that are here to make the biggest difference in the world, to change the world, to lead, to be the leaders, the new leaders of this new world that we're coming into. So I'm going to try not to get too distracted by the comments. That's another thing. I'm sure many of you can completely resonate. When you're really sensitive, you get easily distracted. So I'll try not to get, I'll have a look after, but thank you everybody who is commenting. But like I say, if you want to unmute yourself at any point to ask questions, that's, for me, that might be the better way to do it. So yeah, we as women, especially as business women, we are leaders for our kids, for our clients, with our, our peers in business. And it's all about who we be. And if I just give you a little bit of background, I guess, about where sort of I've come from. So I was in the 9-to-5, as I'm sure many of us have experienced. I always knew that there was that deep sort of feeling in my soul that I was here for more, to be more, to do more. I never really knew what it was, and I spent many years just toying, experimenting, playing around, just following my passions really, and just trying out new things. And in all honesty, nothing really worked. I never really made the money that I wanted to make, and I didn't necessarily make the true impact that I wanted to make. So I tried eating psychology coaching, and there was just something there that wasn't aligned to me. I did web design. I helped women create soul brands. I sort of dabbled in parenting, because this is something I'm massively passionate about, is conscious parenting. But again, when it came to the coaching side of it, there was just something that didn't feel quite right to me. And then I had the opportunity to contribute to a book called Love Unboxed, which was released back in February. And through that process, it really opened up something in me, because I was always a writer when I was growing up. I was always writing poems and short stories, always creating. And then I got to about 16 years old, and it's like I completely shut down that part of me. So I didn't write anything for years and years and years. In fact, I didn't do anything creative. But when I contributed to Love Unboxed, it was like that part of me was uncaged. Like my whole brand is all about uncaging yourself, uncaging women, you know, women being who they are, who they really are at their core, and helping women to uncage their kids. And that's what happened. It really unlocked my creativity. And that's what then inspired another book collaboration. I'm not sure if all of you are aware, but Stacey's actually one of the co-authors of Uncaged, The Rise of the Badass, which is being released in September. And and that book is all about, again, it's all about empowering women. And the women in this book, the stories that they're writing, you know, they've experienced such trauma in their lives, and then, you know, sharing their struggles and their vulnerability and the fact that who they have become in spite of everything that's happened to them. This is, you know, this is the true power of us women. When we open up and when we share and when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, when we start living from our heart and following joy and our passions and not being stuck in our heads all the time, or not following really love helping women do, is to not only sort of connect with their spiritual self, so who they are at their core, in their soul, but also allowing them to be human, because a lot of the healing that we need to do as women, the reason why we get stuck in our businesses, the reason why we kind of hit that glass ceiling because we think we're not good enough, is because of all of these wounds and all of this story that we have carried. And a lot of it comes down to the fact that we've never fully processed anything that's happened to us. We've never allowed ourselves to really feel our feelings because we've been conditioned not to. And this goes back hundreds, thousands of years. And it's not just us women, it's our boys too. You know, how many times, and I have been guilty of it, you know, I'm not perfect, but how many times do we say, oh, you're a boy, don't cry, boys don't cry, all these silly little things that are just pure conditioning. And so, you know, this has been going on for hundreds and thousands of years, being passed down to us generation to generation, and we've been carrying all these stories, all these beliefs, all of these wounds that never actually belonged to us in the first place. I can guarantee they didn't even belong to your parents or their parents. These go back like thousands of years. And so the true, I always say, feeling is healing, and it's really helping women to truly feel what you're, you know, if you're feeling angry, for instance, you know, anger is one of the most beautiful emotions, because if you take that anger and channel it in the right way, it can make you more productive. You can channel it into your creativity. You can really fight for your cause. You can really step into your purpose, your big why, with using that anger. But unfortunately, because we've been conditioned to believe that being angry or in a low mood or whatever it is wrong, we've only ever learnt to either stuff those feelings down or just project them outwards. That's when we start projecting outwards onto other people. That's when we start pointing the finger and blaming people and just being really snappy with our kids, because we haven't allowed ourselves to truly feel. So this is something that I would really urge everybody, and I know especially if you're in business, and I know you've all probably got a different level of experience on this call, but you're all up leveling, and each time you up level, it's kind of like opening Pandora's box. It's like you release something and then you go into that next level, and it's like suddenly all this other crap appears, and it's like each time you up level, you're having to really peel back the layers, and more of the stuff comes out. And the closer you get to who you really are, the harder it is, the more shit that you're going to have to go through, basically. Pardon my language. But you know, the deeper you go, it's like the more stuff is lurking in there, and it's really bringing that up into your conscious awareness, because we have so much that's in our unconscious mind that we're not even aware is there, that is driving a lot of our beliefs around our success, whether or not we feel that we're deserving of success or money or not. A lot of what is in our unconscious mind is just creating this massive block. So in terms, you know, you might set the intention one week, I'm going to, you know, recruit this many people and this much money, and you have that intention, but then it's like this invisible block that steps in, because all of this stuff is in your unconscious mind telling you constantly that you're not deserving, and therefore you don't take the action that you need to in order to actually meet those goals. So this is why writing is such an incredible tool, because I help women not only to write books that are going to really impact the world, but it's also when you're writing, when you're taking yourself through that process, the type of writing that I teach is intuitive writing. So it's the free flow kind, when you go off and meditate or whatever it is that you do that gets you really grounded and then come to write. And it's in that kind of space of pure consciousness and the words actually flow through you. That's when you can really tap into your unconscious mind and actually bring out a lot of what's in there. And through that process, a lot of those old wounds and those feelings come up, and then you're able to just allow yourself to feel them. Which takes me on to my next point, is how often when we do feel a certain way, are we trying to change it because we think that if we feel a certain way, if we're feeling moody, angry, if we're, you know, whatever negative emotion that we don't like feeling, because we only like the positive ones, whatever negative emotion we're feeling, it's like, oh my God, I'm feeling like this, there's something wrong with me, I'm making this mean that I'm a bad person, I need to do something to change. And that's when, you know, there's nothing wrong with doing affirmations and all the yoga and all these other really wonderful things, because they are just great to help get you grounded again. Because when you're in that grounded, centered place in your body, that is when you are completely connected to who you really are. But in all honesty, when you're feeling something, we don't need to do anything to change that, because it's human nature that, you know, some days you're going to wake up and you're going to be in a low mood and there isn't actually any reason for it. Other times it could be that you've eaten something that hasn't agreed with you, or maybe you haven't had enough sleep. But we don't need to spend any time thinking about why we're feeling the way that we're feeling, excuse me, or even thinking, I need to do something to change this. Most of the time, the best thing we can do is actually sit with that feeling and allow it to flow through us, because all of our emotions are energy. Whatever emotion you're experiencing, it's energy and it needs to flow. Like money is energy, for instance. Everything is just energy. It needs to keep flowing and flowing and flowing. The minute we try to change something or stuff it down or block it in any way, we stagnate that energy, and that's when it becomes sort of ingrained in us at a cellular level. That's when it really starts to get buried in our unconscious mind, when all we need to do is allow it to flow through us. And quite often, and I did actually see Stacey, what was it? I think you did some training, was it last week? And I saw you were leading the training and you were up dancing, which I thought was brilliant. But things like that, you know, if you want energy to flow, if you're feeling angry or sad and you just want to help shift that energy, help it move, do what it's meant to do, then things like getting up and moving and dancing or just going for a walk are really great for that. And in all honesty, that's all we ever really need to do. We certainly don't need to keep thinking that there's something wrong with us because we're feeling the things that we're feeling, because we are human. We are meant to have emotions. I'm a very spiritual person, so I believe that we are souls here having a human experience. So give it the best damn human experience you can, which means allowing yourself to feel all of those emotions. It's what your soul wants. It's why it's here. And I know that a lot of the negative stuff that we don't like is very uncomfortable, but the reason it's so uncomfortable is because we've been conditioned to believe that it's bad and that it's wrong. It's like, okay, you're allowed to be happy and you're allowed to feel joy. That's fine. But anything else, and the truth is, it's because it makes other people feel uncomfortable, because they don't know how to deal with their own emotions and their feelings. So when somebody is like suddenly burst into tears in front of them, it's like, oh my God, I don't know what to do with that. And that's why we might have a tendency to try to fix people. So, you know, if one of our friends comes to us in tears because something's happened and we're like, oh, I don't know what to do, let's just, you know, and we try to think of ways to fix the situation, when all we ever need to do is just not say anything, hold that space and allow that person just to talk, so that those feelings and that energy can flow through them. I'm just going to have a quick look. I know there's a few comments in the chat, so I'm just going to have a quick where are we? Right, hang on. Oh, hello, hello, hello. Great. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. Yep, you did, Jane. You did just hear that Stacey's a co-author. I know she's been a bit quiet about that. But I know that her story is going to be absolutely incredible. Thank you. I've just brought a notebook to jot down my mind ramblings out my head onto paper. Yes, Jane, that is absolutely brilliant idea. And actually, everybody that's on this call, if you don't journal, I would definitely, and I'll talk about it in a minute, I would definitely recommend journaling, and I will explain the different ways that you can journal. Cool, excellent. So, yeah, I completely lost my train of thought. I knew it would happen. So yeah, I might as well just jump straight to the journaling piece. So, as already mentioned, writing is such an incredible tool to extract a lot of what is hidden in your unconscious mind, so that you can bring it into your awareness and allow yourself to feel what you need to feel and process. And, you know, when you go through that, you will experience grief. Like, I did some journaling on Friday. I took myself off. I've got a few things going on at the moment, so I took myself off on my own into the woods. There's a really lovely spot near where I am, and it's absolutely gorgeous. Just sat there on my own for 2 hours, and I just journaled. And when you're in that kind of really grounded place and you're free flowing, when you read your journal back, it's almost like reading a conversation between two people. It's the weirdest thing, but so much comes out. And there were periods when I was writing that I got this wave of emotion, and it was grief. It was grief that needed to come out, grief for things that I never grieved before. And this is something that we as women, we will experience a lot of grief. The more we heal, the more we will be experiencing grief, because there's, again, this is all down to conditioning, but it's like we've had to sacrifice so much for, you know, for generations. It's like a lot of the old way of thinking is, you know, it's kids or work. Obviously now we know you can have both, but so many women, you know, they give up their passions and their dreams to give everything to their children, and then it's like they grieve a part of themselves. It's like almost like they've lost a part of themselves, and they never actually allow themselves to grieve. It's almost like I think for those of you who have children on this call, I'm sure there's been times when, certainly when your children were very small, that you felt like you'd completely lost your identity, and you're thinking, who am I? I don't even know what I'm here, what my purpose is anymore. But when we're feeling like that, we never actually sort of just sit with it and actually think, well, actually, of course I am grieving, because my life has completely changed. The old me doesn't exist anymore. But we don't actually go through that grieving process. So when you're journaling and writing, and you're really tapping into your unconscious mind and really tapping into that really deep stuff, you know, the stuff that you don't even know is there, that's where you get these feelings of grief coming out. Because the more you grow as a person on every level, spiritual, emotional, it's like the more you step into the next version of you, or closer to who you really are, you have to let go of old stories and old beliefs and old patterns. And these are things that we have identified with for so long and really have attached ourselves emotionally to for so long, that actually letting them go, even though on a deep level we know that on the other side is, you know, the freedom or the abundance or whatever it is that we're looking for, it's really, really hard to actually let that go, because it's all we've ever known. It's really, really familiar to us. So we need to grieve at each step of our journey, especially in our business, because the fact that you're doing your businesses, you're already doing something that is what most people don't do. You know, this is very new paradigm. This is very much like, you know, you're breaking the mold. The kind of the whole 9 to 5, have a career, just do something to earn money, even though you absolutely hate it and it really sucks the life out of your soul. That's still very mainstream. That's still what we're, you know, teaching our kids in the system as they're going through state schools, and we're still giving them the same messages. But when you break away from that and actually think, no, I want to create life on my terms. I want to create my business on my terms, and parent my children in a way that is aligned to me. And you know, you're completely going against convention and completely breaking the mold. And, you know, so just for that alone, every step of the way, it's like you're going to have to keep letting things go. It's like releasing old wounds, releasing old patterns. And sometimes it's about releasing people as well. And this is something I yeah, I was thinking about whether or not to talk about this, but I think I will talk about it, because the more you grow and step closer to who you really are, the more you expand. You know, you are going to have to let go of those old stories and maybe people and everything else, but you're also going to have to allow yourself to grieve, because there's that human part of you that has been so attached and so identified to that old you, that you need to allow your time to really feel what you need to feel, and actually just go through the motions and allow those feelings to flow, and it will happen. And this is why we have upper limit problems. Now, if anyone hasn't yet read The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, please do, because it's one of the best books I've ever read, and it's all about this upper limiting. And that's what happens. It's like, you know, we hit maybe our next income goal, and then it's almost like something, or the world around us just suddenly crashes. Something happens. It's always when something really good happens, it seems to be followed by something bad. It's these upper limits. So we need to allow our times to really deal with all this other crap that's going on and lovingly let it go. And as I've mentioned, sometimes it does mean people, because if a lot of the people that we know, and this could be people we've been friends with like since school, it could even be our families, if they're still very stuck in their old patterns and old thinking, they're probably looking at you and just don't get you and don't understand you. And this is really when it comes to separate realities, because each and every one of us are living in a completely separate reality. So I looked the other day, at the moment there's 7.5 billion people on the planet right now. So that's 7.5 billion separate realities, and it basically means we are only ever seeing the world through our own eyes, through our own filters, based on our own beliefs, our own experiences, based on anything that's been brought into our awareness. So, you know, for so many people, you know, they won't understand what you're doing because it's not their level of consciousness or awareness. And it doesn't mean that they're bad people, or that, you know, you're suddenly sort of looking down your nose at them. It's not like that at all, but it can cause a massive rift. The more you step up, the more you step into your role as a leader, the more these kind of people might suddenly, it might seem as though they're not supportive, they're criticizing you, they're being judgmental, they're constantly questioning you, and it can be a massive drain on your energy. And something I've literally just had to do this weekend, and this is something I had been thinking about for a long time, is, you know, one of the things we really need to do as leaders is protect our energy. And this is where things like self-care come into play. Recognizing when you're starting to feel tired and just need a break and to step away. Because if we're always surrounding ourselves by negative people, they really start to suck on our energy, and that can have a massive impact on your business. It can really affect your productivity, because especially if you're really sensitive, you're taking their energy on as your own. It's going to create a low mood in yourself, which is then going to trigger a lot of this negative thinking. You know, the monkey mind, when it starts telling you that, oh, that's a bad idea, when you start doubting yourself, when you start second guessing yourself. So it's really important that you protect your energy, and sometimes it means letting go of people, or at least stepping away from people. So for instance, I've had to tell my mum just yesterday that I don't want her to stay in my house anymore, and I've also told my dad, because they're going through a situation which is becoming very toxic. They're not together, and I know it's going to turn really nasty, and every time they bring it into my house, it just brings me down on an energetic level. And I realized, you know, I can't do that, because this last week I've been so unproductive because of this energy pulling on me. So I haven't hit my income goals this week. I haven't done anything that I'd intended to do this week because of this energy. So I had to have that conversation and say, I'm sorry, but you're not welcome. And it's not easy to have that kind of conversation, but when you're a leader, you have to embody what it is that you're teaching people, but it's also, you need to be the leader. You need to, being a leader is about living in integrity. And if something is out of alignment with you, doesn't fit with your values, completely lacks integrity, just pulls on your energy to the point that it's actually stopping you from being that leader, then you have to be really bold and take those kind of steps. Now, this doesn't mean that you necessarily have to walk away forever. You know, I have no intention of cutting my mum out of my life completely, but just right now, I just can't have the energy around me, because I have children. And I realise, you know, by allowing that energy in, especially when people are kind of living in their kind of victim consciousness. So they're the kinds of people that don't take responsibility for themselves, are always pointing the finger, are always blaming. If they're always projecting, like I'm normally the emotional punch bag, I'm normally, my mum can become very codependent on me emotionally. And it actually, you just can't allow that, because it sucks on your energy, it drains you. And actually, it's not very helpful to the other person to keep propping them up when they're refusing to help themselves. So that's the situation with my mum right now. But I realised that by me allowing her in, allowing myself to be treated like that, is not only showing myself a lack of respect, but it's me teaching my children that that's how you allow yourself to be treated. And I'm not just a leader in business, but as mums, we are leaders, because we are leaders for our children. We are their teachers, their guides, their mentors. So, and as I mentioned right at the start, I'm all about the kids. And I realised this weekend that I just wasn't in integrity with my bigger purpose and my bigger vision. So I had to have that conversation. And I had to have the conversation with my dad as well, but he was actually really understanding. So yeah, it's all about, like, who do you need to be to be a leader? Like, what is it that you need to let go of? I'll just have a quick look at the chats, because I see.
I was going to say about journaling.
Yeah.
What do you journal about? How do you start it? What tips have you got for that?
Cool. Okay. So there's various things that you can do. Now, the thing that I did on Friday, I asked myself, shame I haven't got my journal with me, but sometimes it could be that you want a specific question answered. So you might have like a nagging feeling that something's not right, and so you could just write in your journal, or just start writing in your journal, I'm feeling this about this, why? And it's literally that, just open, as long as you're in it really grounded and really present, it just kind of opens something, and you just go with what pops in your head. And it's like you don't ever stop to think, because when we're tapped into our creative energy, you know, it's our core energy, it's the energy that flows through us, and that's what we want to tap into, and it really does. So if you've got a question that you want answered, you could just journal on that. It could be, and this is something I do sometimes, it's quite interesting, there could be a very specific question that you want, or maybe you want some specific guidance. And in the past, I have asked a question, so write it in your notebook before you go to bed, leave it there. Quite often you'll get the answer in your dream, and every time I've asked for guidance or asked a question with the intention of being shown the answer in my dream, I have the most vivid, messy dreams. And then the idea is, the minute you wake up, you just write, and again, it's like, it's whatever just flows from you, like in that instance. So you're not stopping to think, okay, I had this dream, what was it? It's like, okay, just write. Another thing you can journal on is, if you want to grow your team, grow your business, who are the people that you would really love on your team? And you can really call them in, and you can say things like, and think of people that you actually know personally. Perhaps you don't work with them yet, but you've got your eye on them. And you can say, I really want to work with Michelle Catanach, because, and you just really say, what are the things that you love about people, the people that you want to work with? And it's really about raising your vibration and calling those people in. You know, I love them because they turn up on time. I love them because they're really enthusiastic, and, you know, whatever qualities that you love in the people on your team, just journal on those and call those people in. Another thing that you can do is really think about the bigger vision that you have. Like, what is your massive income goal? How do you want your life to look? What's some of the things that you want to do with the money that you make? And start journaling on it as if it's happening right now. So start talking about your car, start talking about your cruise, whatever it is, talk about it and journal on it as if it's in the present moment. So yeah, there's various different ways, but really journaling is literally just free flow writing, whatever comes into your mind, and just writing. And it could even be, so let's take, for example, I don't know, let's just say you suspect that something's happened to you in your past, and it's just something like that's just nagging at you, and you just don't know, but you're just curious to find out. It could be, when I was X age, did this happen? and then just see what comes out. So it can be used in so many different ways, but the most important thing is that when you're doing it, that you're really, really present, no distractions. Ideally goes out in nature, because obviously it's that kind of that lovely source energy. And just make sure, don't get in your head the minute you get in your head. And this is also when it comes to writing anyway. So if you're writing content and blog posts, Facebook posts, whatever, the minute you get into your head, you block off your creativity. So you need to just be really grounded and as present as possible.
I thought journaling was about writing about your day. That's why.
Yeah, keeping a diary. Yeah, you can do that as well, you know. Actually, someone I know, she does a lot of intuitive writing, so it's journaling, but she doesn't necessarily have any questions or anything. It's literally when she wakes up, just what comes out. And so she'll do that every day. So it's kind of like keeping a daily diary, but not necessarily talking about her day. But then when she looks back, she kind of sees like things that have manifested in her life that have been really sort of connected to the journaling that she's done. So that's another thing as well, all the things you want to manifest, like what do you want to manifest? Journal on it and actually bring it to life. You need to get that energy, you need to start embodying it, because so many of us are cut off from the neck down. Again, I use that conditioning word. We don't know how to truly be in our bodies, but to really embed a belief and a really core inner knowing, we need to actually feel it. So we need to really, if we want to make, I don't know, 200 grand a year, we need to feel that belief in our body. Because if we're just thinking in our head, I'm going to make 200 grand this year, it's not going to happen because it's just in our head. But we need to feel it to the core of our very being. Whatever it is that you want to manifest, if you want that new car or that dream holiday or big house, whatever it is, you need to truly embody it and feel it in your body. Any more questions?
Got one more question.
Yeah.
Obviously, on a religious level, would you then ask for guidance from God and stuff like that instead? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So you can name, like, I don't believe, I mean, I'm not a Christian, so I don't believe in the Christian God, but I believe in God as this sort of infinite source of energy. Sometimes I call God the universe. Whatever your religion is, you can ask that, because religion really is whatever religion is really a belief in a higher source anyway. It's just God might be in a different form. So you can ask guidance from your Jesus, your God, or whoever. That's absolutely fine, because you're essentially asking guidance from the same thing anyway, but it's got to be what is aligned.
Same thing to me as well.
Yeah.
So, God and universe, Jesus, whoever that God is to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I think is great, because then, you can really tap into what and make it personal to you. Like you said, it's a perception.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So I'd encourage everyone to give it a go. And I remember when I first started journaling, I found it really hard, because I was the same. I was like, what do you actually write about? But obviously the minute you start thinking that, you're in your head. So sometimes it's best just don't think and just get that pen and just see what comes out. And it could be the most random thing, but just go with it. And when I did my journaling on Friday, it was it's amazing some of the things that come out. Like some of my best Facebook posts have come through journaling, and when you read it back, you're like, well, it wasn't me. I know it was not me. It was something coming through me that wrote that post. And that is the power of journaling. And certainly in terms of as a healing tool, like writing is just one of the most powerful, I believe. Any other questions? Does anyone else? I'm just going to see if anyone's got any questions in the chat. So Denise says, I used to journal. Once you start writing, it just flows. It is so true. And if anybody on here does want to write a book, do it via journaling. A lot of people, I'm sure if you've kept a journal and it's been very intuitive and free flow, you've probably already got a book without even realizing it. So in terms of writing a book, I mean, there's other book coaches that teach you a very different way of writing. But to me, the more you get out of your head and just allow it to come through you, that is when you really create your most powerful, most transformational work on a personal level, spiritual level, and also in a way that's going to really impact other people. And it's not just writing books, but it's, any kind of writing you do as your marketing, it's got to come from within here. It's just no good In fact, when I think it must have been about a year and a half, 2 years ago, when I sort of first started using Facebook to create posts, now I could tell the ones where I was stuck in my head because they didn't get any engagement whatsoever. And every now and then it used to just flow through me, and I had a couple of posts that just went viral because it's the energy. People are feeling that energy, and that's what people are responding to when they're reading that post. And when I write now all my posts, everything comes from that other place. Whatever that other place is, that's where it all comes, and it makes a massive difference to your marketing. If you need content written for any kind of marketing, especially if a lot of your business is online, then it makes a massive difference where you are coming from when you're writing. What was the book recommendation again? So the book was The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. And actually, I got to interview him last year because after reading his book, I was so blown away. And I just sent him this massive, gushing email just telling him why I loved his book and the transformation I'd had and how I'd love more people to read this book. And this is another example of energy, because I truly believe he said yes to the interview because of the energy he felt from my email. And it's the same as from another author, Michael Neal. It was the same with him. After reading his book, I sent him another email because I was just like, wow, this book's amazing. And it does make such a difference because words are so incredibly powerful. And in fact, Stacey posted earlier that thing, what's that saying? Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me, you. And she was basically saying, who made up that crap? And I've often thought that myself as well, because in my late teens, I was in a very violent relationship, very emotionally. I mean, he was your typical gaslighter, proper narcissist. And there are a few times he physically hit me, but I always used to say I would have preferred to have been beaten up by him than the emotional stuff, because that is the stuff that gets buried. That is why so many of us struggle now in our lives and hold ourselves back, because of the words that have really cut deep, especially if you're sensitive. And I know I mentioned being sensitive a lot, but so many of us women are extremely sensitive, so we take on so much. And we make it so personal and we believe it, and it gets embedded into our unconscious mind, because words are incredibly powerful, but it's the energy behind them. I always joke that, I can say about my husband, oh, you're such a dick, in that kind of tone. And it's said with love, because he's actually doing something quite endearing that makes me laugh. And oh, you're such a dick. But then at the same time, another time, I'm like, oh, you're such a dick. Be really angry with him, and it's a different energy behind the words. So words, you really have to be very careful with words. They do hurt. I don't care what anybody says. It's the language we speak, isn't it? We speak in words, and it's what we hear, especially as children. It's all these words are going in, and we're interpreting these words as well as feeling all the energy behind them, and then making it really personal. So yeah, that saying, I don't know where that even came from. Probably a narcissist. I bet a narcissist made that up, to be honest. So yeah, The Big Leap, that was the book. Another book I'd highly recommend is Rise, Sister Rise by Rebecca Campbell. Absolutely powerful, amazing book. I actually read it in a day because I was on a travel day, and on this particular day I was meant to spend the time planning for my business, but I just could not put that book down. So I read it in 8 hours. And it was so good. As soon as I saw my friend the other end, I just gave her the book. I was like, you've got to read this. So if you can read that as well, and this is really all about, women's empowerment and us really stepping into our true power as not only as women, but also as leaders, because the fact that we are women, we are natural born leaders. We are the ones that, we give birth to our children for a reason, I believe, because we are the ones to truly lead them. Not saying that men can't, but I don't think we truly realize our potential and our role as a leader. And of course, the more we rise, the more we step into our power, our children rise with us. And it also helps our men rise too, because there's still a lot of toxic masculine energy born from the patriarchy, which I think I read has been around for, I'm sure it said 5,000 years. So that's a long time. That's why we as women have been so disempowered for so long. So the more we step into our true feminine power as women, we help our men rise as well. So I'm just going to see, The Big Leap, the author was Gay Hendricks. Kelly says she's just started writing again this week. Yeah, great. And also another reason why I think everybody should write, and I know, I can guarantee there's some of you on this call right now who are probably saying, well, I'm a rubbish writer because, you know, I can't spell, I've got awful grammar, I did really badly at school. I don't care about that, because it's all about being creative. And with creativity, there are no rules. You know, this is grammar and spelling and things like that. That's just the humans that made up those rules. But true creativity, like that source of energy that's flowing through you, everybody has that. Everybody has access to that. And the other stuff doesn't matter. It's more important that you feed your creativity. We are creative beings. You know, that's why we're here. We were created. That's how we came into the world. You can probably hear Ronnie in the background. I think he's been taken to bed. So yeah, do something every day that's going to really feed your creativity, because so many of us have cut off from that part of ourselves. It doesn't even need to be something artistic. You don't have to be painting and drawing. It could be dancing, you know, free flow dancing. It could be cooking something, baking without following a recipe, because again, recipes, instructions, that's rules. We want to just break the rules, whatever it is. It could be something in your business. Maybe you're following somebody's rules and actually it's not quite working out for you. Well, how can you get creative and just make your own rules? That's what creativity is. It's creating something from nothing, and that's by the very essence of who we are. That is who each and every one of us is. So do something every day, and if you can write every day, absolutely brilliant, because like I say, it just unlocks something and does wonders for your business. Once you start allowing that energy to flow, like, you'll be amazed at the things that start to happen in your life, in your business. So yeah, be creative, write anything, just break the rules. I'm just a massive rule breaker. I'm just a massive rebel, so I always encourage that.
Thank you so much. It's been absolutely incredible. Do you want to say what your page is on Facebook? So if anyone wants to connect with you daily and really embrace your posts, because I love your posts and I love to share them. It's so inspiring. And cool. I know a lot of people would love to be part of that.
Yeah, cool. So I'm being really naughty and just using my personal page for business at the moment. So you can just find Michelle Catanach, send me a friend request. Also on Instagram, so Michelle_Catanach. So that's where I hang out.
You're amazing. I just really want to thank you so much for this call. And
no, thank you.
Had that instant connection. We were like, we need to, you know, connect. It was amazing.
Yeah. No, thank you so much for inviting me, and I think you're brilliant too.
Thank you. I look forward to our call tomorrow anyway. But yeah, so much. Thank you.
Thank you everyone that's been tuning in, and it's good to see that not too many of you got bored and disappeared.
Take care. Good night everyone. I hope you enjoyed the training, and we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.